My name is Kelly Herbig, and I'm going to show you how you can use Padlet with the Passport to Social Studies curriculum to support students with special needs. What is Padlet? Padlet is a digital tool that allows teachers and students to collect information. Here's an example of a Padlet that I made a while back to support my fifth grade students as they were researching Latin American regions. Today, I want to show you two main ways that you can use Padlet to support the social studies curriculum and provide differentiated instruction for your special needs students. The first way is by using the shelf feature, and the second way I'm going to show you is by using the timeline feature. The shelf feature is great for research projects and activities. It provides multiple entry points for learning, and it's really helpful with collecting and organizing information. The timeline feature is wonderful for collecting and organizing chronological information, and it helps you provide a visual and interactive timeline. Both the shelf and the timeline feature help you collect information over time, help you promote collaboration, help you with providing visuals, and they make differentiating easy. So specifically today, I'm going to show you how I modified some activities and lessons from the Grade 5 Unit 3 United States Case Study Unit. But really, you can use Padlet with any social studies unit that you are working on. So let's start with the shelf feature. This is a graphic organizer that is from Lesson 3 in Unit 3 of Grade 5. And in this lesson, students are reading short summaries of key events in the westward expansion, and then responding by filling in the rest of this chart. What I wanted to do was provide more resources for my students with special needs to help them access this lesson. Oftentimes, students with special needs read below grade level or need other opportunities to access the curriculum, whether it be with visuals or videos. So Padlet allows you to organize information really clearly for them. So I want you to watch as I take this graphic organizer and create a shelf Padlet to support students with special needs in completing this work. So on the screen, I have a Padlet that I created to collect resources for westward expansion for my students. To create a Padlet, you're just going to simply log in with your Google account. You'll be taken to this homepage and you can click this pink button and then click the shelf feature. I'll show you what that looks like. So you would click the shelf feature and it will help you create something like this. To edit it, you can just click this modify button. You can change the title, the description, you can add a fun icon. This link will be really important once it's completed so that you can share it with your students. You can change the wallpapers, color scheme, font, and then there's lots of features down here that make collaboration really easy. I like to check the attribution one so that we can see which students are adding if you're making it a collaborative Padlet. You can change where you want new posts to fall. You can allow comments, which allows students to comment on different posts. You can change the reaction. And I always like to make sure that I'm requiring approval of any posts that students add and then filtering profanity. But you can always do what is best for you and your class. I personally like to choose a more simple wallpaper because I think that it supports students with special needs by helping them just focus on what's important. And what's important here is the information I'm giving them on westward expansion. So the reason why I like the shelf feature in particular is because you can make titles for different shelves, and this helps you and your students categorize and organize the important information that they need to access. So I added a few topics here. And I'm not done. I would keep adding more of the topics that were on the graphic organizer. You can do that by just clicking add column and then naming your column right here. And once you create those columns, you can click the plus button below them to add resources. So what I'm going to do right now is show you how I add resources that will specifically support students with special needs in completing this lesson. So what you can see here is I added a few resources for students to look into when they are learning about the Louisiana Purchase and the Lewis and Clark expedition. I found a really great video for kids, so students can click this to watch a video about the Louisiana Purchase. I also found a great article written specifically for kids that tells them facts about the Louisiana Purchase. And I added a photo that shows what was purchased in the Louisiana Purchase. How I did this was you click the plus sign and it allows you to create a post underneath whatever shelf you are creating a post for. Here you have the opportunity to upload. Here you have the opportunity to link. Here you can actually go right on Google and search for an image or something you'd like to add. And here you can take a snap. So this allows you to add a plethora of resources for students. This is really important because when completing social studies work, if you have students who aren't yet reading on grade level, you want to give them another way to access this information. Also, it helps them access that grade level reading because it's giving them the background information, the vocabulary, and the knowledge that they need to approach more complex texts and do that hard work that we all know they're capable of doing. This also just fits multiple learning styles because it allows for visual, auditory, all types of learners to access the information that they need in order to complete the work. And what I love about this is that students can even add their own resources. So if you would like to allow that, if a student finds something that they'd like to share with their friends, you can make this collaborative and the students themselves can add posts. And it's really great to see Padlets grow with resources from both the student and the teacher. So this is one way that I've used the shelf feature to collect information. I love that you can collect information over time so that you don't just have to use this Padlet for the one lesson. It could be something that your students come back to again and again when they need to look at this information, review the information, um, or do any sort of research or work with this information. All right, so now I'm excited to show you how you can also use the timeline feature to support you in teaching special education students social studies. So when going through the unit 3 in grade 5, I also saw this really important timeline, created for students to help them understand the sequence of events that happened during westward expansion. Now, this timeline is really simple and can be easy to understand for some students, but as we know, we often have to modify these things to support students with special needs, adding things like visuals or adding things, a few events at a time could be really great strategies to helping students use this tool in a better way. So I'm going to show you how I take this and turn it into a timeline on Padlet. So in order to make a timeline, you are going to click the pink button once again, but this time you're just going to click timeline. I already started one, so let me show you what I have. My main goal for creating this timeline is one, I wanted to make sure that I had visuals to support students. Two, I also wanted to create this timeline a few events at a time. The way that I see this timeline being used is something that is collaborative, something that is added to over time, so that as your students learn about these events, you are adding them into the timeline. I think this helps make it less overwhelming and just more authentic to students that they're seeing these events pop up on the timeline as they learn about them. So I've added 3 major events from the westward expansion. And what I did was added visuals to help students truly understand what the key event is describing or make a connection to prior information they've learned about it. In order to add an event to the timeline, you just have to click here, this little plus sign, and you can add another event. So if I wanted to add the Trail of Tears, I will add that as the title. I've just been putting the date into the description. And then one thing that I'm doing is I'm just clicking this button right here and it actually generates a Google search using your title. So it gives me a chance to look for a visual that would really support my students in understanding this key event. I think I like this one right here, so I'll click and add that one. Let's say that you've learned about things maybe just a slightly out of order and you want to add something that happened in between, you can do that. You can click the plus sign in between two events to add an event there. And another feature that I think is really cool that I might consider using in this timeline is you can even add a YouTube video. You can link it right here, a YouTube video that teaches about that topic. So if you can make it even more interactive than it already is and allow students to watch videos about each event that you're learning about. Students can also, like I showed you before, Padlet's very collaborative. So students can actually comment. They can click this button right here to leave a comment, any reactions or thoughts or connections that they have. Um, and it will pop up right there so that you can see now that there's a comment and you can click there and different people can comment on these different events and have a discussion. I also set the feature for students to like or unlike the different key events that I'm adding to the timeline. But remember, you can go here and you can change that feature. You can have them upvote, star, give it 1 to 5 stars. That might be actually kind of fun. Maybe you can have them grade it 1 to 5 based on importance in our history. But these are just some of the ways that, that you can use the timeline feature to support students with special needs. And I think what's so great about this, like I said before, is that you can collect information over time. You can add a little as you go, and you can link and provide visuals and resources. All of these things are really important when teaching students with special needs. And I think the last thing that I'd like to leave you with that I think is the most important is that both of these resources, allow students with special needs to access that complex thinking and that complex reading and that complex work, because we do still want to have those high standards for them because we know that they can reach it. We just need to provide other opportunities for them to access the information. And I think that Padlet does a really great job of doing that. So I hope this video helped, and I look forward to showing you more features like Padlet in the future.